Hello, everyone, and welcome to another installment of TEDXcellence, the show in which I attempt to learn something at the sacrifice of my own brain cells. And I come to you live from my Corona bunker on the moon with Dog, Cat, Fox, Pepperjack, and all of you. Hello, chat. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wednesday. That's right, it's Wednesday. Wonderful Wednesday. Yeah, Hump Day, as Monkey calls it, and many other people do. People like Tall Person, who before the stream, thank you so much. Happy National Chocolate Macaroon Day, everybody. There's a specific day just for chocolate macaroons, not just macaroons, chocolate macaroons. So is there like a National Strawberry Macaroon Day or a National Pistachio Macaroon Day? I wouldn't be surprised. But as well, Humble Clay, hello. John Miller, hello. Kiever Dan, hello. And then the chat jump, because of course it did. Tack Alpaca, hello. Quinn the Cultist, hello. Joe Faps, hello. Robbie Schroeder, hello. Evil One, hello. Corey Suzuki, hello. Jormungandr, hello. Emperor W.R. Costin, hello. Shio Gorath, hello. And I will say hellos to the others as they trickle in. But what do we have on the docket for today? Fernanda, hello. We have bringing justice to a colonialized self. Bringing justice to a colonialized self. There are at least two major buzzwords in there, and that's what caught my attention. So aside from that, I have no idea what this is about or where it's going to go, but I am curious to find out. Thank you, the Caps and Dogs, for Dog, Cat, Fox treats. Finally got one live. Yay, Dog, Cat, Fox treats. I wonder what Dog, Cat, Fox eats. I mean, Scooby's got Scooby snacks. I wouldn't call them like Dog, Cat, Fox snacks. That'd be a bit too on the nose. I wonder what the culinary disposition is of Dog, Cat, Fox. I'll have to think about that one. Let's see. And Joe Vasquez, hello. That one servant of Satania, hello. Sanico, hello. And Straight Sith Mail, hello. Truckin' with a Tablet, hello. Fernandez says goldfish. Ooh, yeah, that's true. That's true. I guess Dog, Cat, Fox could be a goldfish fan as well. That's why I have to buy so much goldfish, to feed Dog, Cat, Fox. I'm not eating them myself. No. Eric Grunstadter, hello. All right, guys. So we are going to get into bringing justice to a colonialized self. Like I say, mystery box, no idea where we're going. But, per usual, I will play the first few seconds of this. You guys tell me if you can hear it, and then we will proceed.
The school-to-prison pipeline gives students to the age of 9 to decide whether or not school is right for them.
Okay, not even 5 seconds in, and school-to-prison pipeline. Are you kidding me? Whoa! I think that's the quickest I've ever had a TEDx talk fall into questionable territory. But okay, I didn't wait. Justice for a colonized self, and we're starting with school to prison pipeline. And this is taking place at a Catholic high school. Okay. So is the Catholic high school producing future felons or something?
And that's 4th grade.
What?
The alternative becomes a story too often told, unfolding the creases and unstitching the seams of an American dream.
What?
Robbing the confidence and well-being of a young mind too confused and upset at the world because he had to sleep on the floor again.
What?
And she didn't get to eat breakfast.
What?
And he hasn't seen her real mom in over 2 years, and she knows his dad is in prison somewhere. And one day on that depressing walk to school where she has a hard time making friends because his jokes are just a little too mature and she doesn't know how to act like a 9-year-old and enjoy his youth.
Is this going to be a 14 long minute slam poetry session? Because it feels like a slam poetry session. Okay. Pepperjack? Ugh, I'm going to have to ration you out. This is going to be a long one.
She gets picked up by a D-boy.
A what?
And falls victim to the street's truth because that narrative was one he could see in her future.
What?
Instead of the next Supreme Court justice or community advocate or elementary school graduate gradually releasing accountability of making this world better and convinced it's already failed you.
Those glasses, I think, are older than I am in design. I'm thinking of like, what? Are those Gloria Steinem glasses? And now you might ask, Scribe, how the hell do you know who Gloria Steinem is? Well, I don't, not really. I mean, I know who she is sort of abstractly, but when I see those glasses, for some reason, it triggers in my brain a memory of a particular person who wore a style of glasses like that. And I think that person was Gloria Steinem. If I'm right, that's pretty sad. If I'm wrong, it's sad that I'm bringing up Gloria Steinem for no good reason. So, okay, where were we again? A girl on the street being picked up and something happened because stuff.
Falling through the cracks of a crappy infrastructure with reins that can't be turned loose. We can't fix this system.
Okay, so if it can't be fixed, then we have to tear it all down. Is that it?
It's broken at its core, so I say destroy it.
Oh, I was right. I was right before. Oh, man. It's almost like I've watched things like this before.
There's no other option to choose into millions of little pieces, so no one could ever use them as clues, so no one could ever put them back together.
Okay. So the system sucks. Destroy it. I mean, she's using a lot of words to say very little. And I don't even know if there's an argument coming or if this, like I say, is going to be a 14-minute long slam poetry session.
Turn the diaspora on the chosen few fueling the propaganda of subjugation, power, and rule. Now, let me ask you this.
Okay, ask me this. I love questions.
If the revolution starts today, what are you going to do?
Stay in my house. I'm safe here.
Hey, hi. Thank you.
Oh, was that all just an introduction? Oh, okay. Well, given how terrible the world is and how broken the system is, you seem awfully happy.
I'm Asha. I'm an artist, educator, and revolutionary. But I got to tell you, and be honest with you, I didn't always have this confidence that I'm carrying with myself today on this stage.
I suspect you still don't, because very few people have to tell everybody else that they're confident. I mean, I guess unless it's a self-help kind of thing or something. But anyway, an artist, an educator, and a revolutionary. This is going to be a gold mine, ain't it? So is this lady actually an educator? Is she, or is that just the amorphous sense of an educator? Is she actually teaching children at this, maybe at this high school? I don't know.
I mean, growing up, like, I did not feel like I fit in. I didn't have any desi friends. I was full of insecurity. And actually what I did was I sort of chameleon, code shifted, right? So I changed who I was depending on the social groups that I was with.
Yeah. Nobody does that. Nobody meters their behavior depending on the environment they're currently in, you know, because I act the exact same way at family dinner as I do on Lords of the Night. I act the exact same way on Lords of the Night as I would do in the workplace. Yeah, that is the most basic instinct, no Sharon Stone required, that people have. Different environments, different settings require different standards of behavior. Wow, you're really special in that regard.
I never felt like I belonged.
Okay.
which sort of makes sense being in this body, in this society. I think one of the best representations of that is my journey with my hair.
Oh no, not another hair scare. I did one of these not too long ago where the subject was hair. Is that your real hair? Or something like that. But to her complaint, I guess, I don't feel like I belong in most places. I feel awkward in most settings. What has that got to do with anything except my sense of self, my sense of self-confidence? No matter what body I'm in. I've seen people who, I don't know, have confidence out the yin-yang you wouldn't suspect because they don't fit the stereotypical mold of someone who's confident. But they are, and they have a great personality, and like, what are you going to do? They do, and I don't. So, I don't know. Tell me more about how you're special.
Baby hairs. Instructed to be trained.
What?
Taught to lie flat. Taught to forget the past.
Oh, please.
Ancestral stories long forgotten.
Oh.
Like Peter Pan refusing to grow up, baby hairs remain in infancy.
Now, refusing to grow up, I think that might be a subtext to this entire presentation.
Terrified of society's products designed to make its visibilities reduced to tired, long days and excuses for being angry.
Oh.
You know, I used to stare into the mirror. Plucking each one that refused to comply, rejecting the expectations I tried to impose upon its genetics. They just didn't get it.
Wow, that's really deep. Wow. Whoa, dude. Man, that's so deep.
The remarks, the microaggressions, the miseducations I received growing up in neighborhoods and ideologies that told me I needed to normalize kink and avoid natural curl that you labeled distorted.
Okay, well, now normalizing kink is something I can get on board with. Oh, you mean hair. Oh, okay. Also, this presentation, only 3 minutes in, 3.5 minutes, is another great argument for why I really need to come up with a TEDx bingo card. Because we started out with school to prison pipeline and we just had microaggressions. Somebody would be winning some prizes by now.
Sitting for hours, asking for help because self-hate manifested its means into heating irons, frying strands of hair, begging them to assimilate.
Oh, okay. So your hair is a metaphor for you or the past you can't escape, or I don't know.
Straightening the wave of discrimination.
Uh-huh.
Masking my identity to prove a space worthy of being given attention, and given attention I was.
Okay, you got attention. Can't wait to see where this is going. Thank you, Toxic Nightshade. I don't want to grow up. I'm a Roy's R Us kid. Nightshade? Who's Roy? Does Roy currently have you in his possession? Blink twice for yes.
Convinced that kinks in my hair compress the ability for others to see my value. Deciding to commit to chemically coercing every strand of ethnicity and ancestry to become dormant, only to erupt again after several months. And as a recidivist, I killed my zombie-like identity time after time as soon as I felt my social confidence slipping.
Wow. Okay, then why is your hair straight now? If denying your heritage via your hair genetics, your heritage, I kill me. Denying your heritage was such a sin. Why is your hair? I mean, and granted, I'm no like fashionista when it comes to hair, but that looks like fairly straight hair right now. So, thank you, Corey Suzuki. Ironing out the kinks much. I guess she was or is or would be. I don't know.
No, I was tripping.
Yeah, no, I agree. You are tripping.
Falling for a romanticized fantasy that if I just looked more like them, I would finally feel like I belong.
Yeah, and you're the only one who ever goes through anything like that, no matter what your heritage or ethnicity or anything else. Trying to fit in, trying to find your own sense of self and so on. These are experiences that no one but our speaker has ever had to go through. No matter what you look like, no matter your height, your color, your gender. No, these are all somehow, I mean, they are universal experiences. Okay, so I can relate to what she's talking about. I just can't necessarily glom onto the idea that what she's saying is some unique perspective or some, like, I don't know, personalized complaint on her part. Like she was all alone in this experience. She wasn't. Everybody goes through that when they're growing up. So, okay, on that score, I can empathize with her, I suppose. Thank you, John Miller. Is there a non-Shapiro talking speed for her? I can't understand what most she says beyond the buzzwords. That's what I always wonder about people who just like rapid fire belt out things like that. And I get that there is a style to slam poetry that necessitates that, and there's a rhythm to it. I don't argue with that. But if you're trying to make a point, if you're trying to get across an argument or something, which is what I presume a TEDx talk is meant to do, unless you say this is a slam poetry session. Yeah, it just goes, you're more impacted by the rhythm and the speed than you are with the content. So fortunately, I can pause the video after these little segments and go, what was she saying? And how much of what she was saying is substantive? Irate Bear. But yeah, if the trick is to just belt out buzzwords at me and think that it's going to stick, in my case, not necessarily.
I was wrong.
Okay.
Masks only delayed derailed conversations, exposing ignorance and ultimate exclusion, proving to me that India Arie was the gospel. While I am not my hair is me.
What? I really feared that most of this talk is going to be me going, what the hell are you talking about? Which might not make for that much of entertainment, but trying to suss out what she's saying and why, that might be more interesting. Okay, her hair is her, or she is her hair. Her hair is the center of her personal metaphor. Okay, I guess. Now I'm trying to read her tattoos. I think that's a futile endeavor.
Every knot entangle, every split and confused at which direction to follow, at every road diverged, I have learned to love it all.
Except when trying to adjust your microphone, I guess.
Summertime sunshine highlights, conversations with ancestors through coconut oil meditations.
What?
Flowing long braids, reminiscing on the strength passed down diasporic journey, held together through exile and Holocaust and excommunication and honesty and discovery of not going down predetermined paths.
Okay. I wish I had something more interesting to say about this, but just listening and like going, you're not saying anything. You're saying nothing. Except, I guess, proving to us that you just love the sound of your own voice. Thank you, Chicago Mike. Hi, Scribe. I'm working right now and unable to listen. Damn, here's some money to help get goldfish and pepperjack. Well, goldfish is now the official food of Dogcat Fox. So thank you, Chicago Mike. And thank you, Viror of Ashmedai. Hello. Hello, Viror. Well, you know, if nothing else, and it may be the case that it's nothing else, you could conceivably get an expansion to your vocabulary listening to her, because she's got a really strong vocabulary. Thank you, Toxic Nightshade. My phone did that Roy bit. I'm a Toys R Us kid. Okay. Wait, Nightshade. Is Roy making you say that? Blink twice for yes.
You know, I am not my hair.
You are not your hair. Wait, did I mishear her when she said a minute ago that she was her hair?
But I'm proud to say my hair is me.
You are not your hair, but your hair is you. You are not your hair, but your hair is you.
And so you see, some of my confidence came with my understanding of my lineage.
Do you have confidence in your ability to keep your microphone in place? Because you seem to be adjusting that a lot. Is it because of your hair?
Right? Because once you get to understand yourself and where you come from, it sort of makes sense because that's where my hair comes from.
No, your hair comes from your head. Your hair... When did this become another hair talk? Serious. Well, I guess I know when it became a hair talk, but nothing about the title. I didn't know we were going to go through another. Okay.
And so my family on my mother's side is from the Mer tribe,
The
Dravidian western coast of India.
Okay.
And through imperialism and opportunity for low caste workers, my family eventually migrated to East Africa to build the railroad for the British.
Okay, your family, which goes back in history so far that the actual direct connection to it has to be diluted to no nth degree at this point, but okay, sure. And the building the railroad for the British Empire has a direct effect on you somehow. All right. John Miller, thank you. Hair today, bald and brain dead tomorrow. With that mane, she's not going bald anytime soon. It looks like very fine hair, so I guess it could thin out, over time. But she's not going bald unless she chooses to, But I digress. We were back to building the railroads during the British Empire.
Until racial tensions increased so much that South Asians were exiled in 1972 from Uganda.
Wait. South Asians were exiled in 1972 from Uganda? My geographical history is a little off, I guess. Thank you. This is Kyle. I will never understand this foolish notion that your outwards appearance somehow defines your personality or who you actually are. Right. Like her tattoos and things, these could express parts of her, belief system. If somebody has a giant cross on their chest, I might be able to make a reasonable assumption that they believe in Jesus Christ. They're a Christian of some sort. And you can express yourself in all types of ways, but to make assumptions purely on the basis of aesthetics of someone, we all do it, certainly. If you see someone who's dressed very well and kept very well, you might assume that they are relatively well off. You can make assumptions about someone on the surface, but who they are versus what they are requires a bit more in-depth knowledge. So looking at her, even though I'm already tainted by her speech a little bit, just looking at her, if I saw her on the street, I would think, well, she likes retro style glasses and she's got a lot of tattoos. So she has a lot to say and or a lot to remember and or a lot of things that she believes sort of marks her life. Outside of that, I wouldn't know a thing. Her hair, looking at her hair, I don't immediately think of anything except that's a lot of hair. It probably took her many years to grow it out, unless she's one of those people that has really fast growing hair. That's about as far as my assumptions about someone gets when it comes to their hair, unless it's like filthy or something or all greasy. And then I'm like, oh, well, this might be somebody who, doesn't take care of themselves. That's about as far as I could go, though. Thank you, the Caps and Dogs. Maybe combine artist, educator, revolutionary with her hair and become a hairstylist for Lady Gaga. Ooh, well, there's an idea.
Initially through a refugee camp, my family eventually settled into East London. Until at the age of 17, my mom was then told that she was going to be sent to America and to Los Angeles for her arranged marriage.
Okay.
Somehow, she found the strength and voice of millions of women who are unable to speak out against abuse, and she got a divorce.
Okay, she wasn't speaking for millions of women. She was speaking for herself, and good on her for getting out of that situation. So all of that stuff prior to your mother coming to Los Angeles has absolutely nothing to do with you. I just want to make sure I get that. All that stuff you mentioned, all that history you just went over, etc., while not necessarily irrelevant insofar as your family history is concerned, as it concerns you or your experiences or your life, you did not build the railroads. You were not exiled and so on. And I'm really hoping you were not forced into an arranged marriage. But okay, your family line, your family tree has suffered greatly. Granted.
She ended up meeting and marrying my father.
Okay.
Of Eastern European Ashkenazi descent with strong generational roots in Los Angeles.
Does that make you upset by any chance?
You know, I've grown to own the diaspora.
Well, you certainly are focused very, very firmly on ethnicity and race as some meaningful aspect of someone's makeup. So yes, I guess you've learned to embrace the diaspora. They really like that word too. I hear that word a lot, the diaspora. I'm not even sure. Well, hell, I don't even know if I know what that means in the context that it's often used.
The good, the bad, the ugly, everything that comes with it.
Really? Really? You embrace the bad and the ugly. Okay.
Including using my privilege to challenge and intersect generational trauma.
Generational trauma. Okay.
Including using my privilege to question traditions that are laden in bias.
Right. Which you do not possess any of course, yourself. You don't have any bias at all, right?
The journey to understanding myself is an ongoing process.
Wow, welcome to living. Most people understand that finding themselves is an ongoing process because events occur, times change, perspectives change. I'm not the same person I was 20 years ago, and who I am today will not be the person I am 10 years from now. Wow.
You know, the biggest tattoo I have is a cliche cry to be recognized for my ethnic identity of being South Asian.
What? No, I gotta back that one up. Your biggest tattoo is what?
To question traditions that are laden in bias.
Yeah.
The journey to understanding myself is an ongoing process.
And that is entirely your problem too.
You know, the biggest tattoo I have is a cliche cry to be recognized for my ethnic identity of being South Asian.
The biggest tattoo you have is a cry for being recognized as your identity is South. So you're upset that more people don't look at you and assume to know your ethnicity or your genetic heritage?
Only realistically distancing myself from the community and pushing myself closer towards cultural appropriation, Ganesh is easily the most co-opted god of the 330 million in my religion.
Whoa, what? Wow, what? Ganesh? Ganesh? Wait, how did we get from your tattoo? So wait, do you have a Ganesh tattoo? Cultural appropriate. I don't want to have to keep rewinding this.
Only realistically distancing myself from the community and pushing myself closer towards cultural appropriation.
All right, distancing yourself from the community and pushing yourself towards cultural appropriation. Okay, well, you just told us your family history is rooted in India, at least on your mother's side. So if you have a Ganesh tattoo, you're not, at least by the definitions we've all been told recently, you're not appropriating anything that doesn't belong to your family history, right?
Ganesh is easily the most co-opted god of the 330 million in my religion.
The most co-opted god. The most co-opted god. So your religion only belongs to specific kinds of people? Co-opted god. Isn't that kind of the hope of most religions, that more people will believe in that deity or deities?
Aesthetically exploited, like white folks wearing saris, not sorry, like Aryan invaders stealing irrigation systems, like British imperialists stealing saris.
Okay.
Bringing it back to their community. Columbusing its discovery, erasing its previous history of struggle and rule, like the way we teach African history in K-12 schools.
Okay.
Every time another Om tattoo or yoga mat purchase produces another Deepak Chopra fan, Uncle Tom Sambo of Indians, I squirm. Because...
Wait, Deepak Chopra is an Uncle Tom. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not exactly a full and front fan of Deepak Chopra. I think what he has to say a lot of the time is pretty much snake oil, but Uncle Tom? Wow.
I know my mixed ethnicity creates an ambiguity that places me into the same box as folks having henna birthday parties because it just looks so cool.
You know, you make a lot of assumptions about the character of people around you. You say that you have self-confidence, but it sure seems like you have a very, very giant and perpetual chip on your shoulder.
For real, though. All right, I get it.
Yeah, I get it.
If the Ganesh tattoo doesn't work, there has to be some other way of ethnic declaration. I know it sounds insane, but if I hear you're so exotic. Or, hold up, you're Indian, but you don't look it at all. Or, you're mixed though, right? Someone's gonna get a high five to the face. The social construct of race is exactly that.
First off, press X to doubt that actual interaction between people, those questions and or accusations, actually occur on any meaningful, regular basis. And secondly, you're going to hit somebody in the face if they say something that makes you feel bad. What happened to that confidence you said you had? If you're confident, what do the harmful words of someone mean to you? Because that sounds awfully thin-skinned, not confident.
Me having to rely on the stupidity of others to assume my subjugation of grouping.
I mean, you struggle so much with your identity based on your heritage that someone asking you about your heritage out of curiosity or confusion is something that you hate to have happen, even though you want everyone to know the truth about your origins. If someone inquires about the truth about your origins, at least as you've described them, they're the bad guy. Is that what I'm understanding? Or is that what I'm meant to understand? Because that's what I'm understanding here. Thank you, Johnny Hellcat. This seems to be the type of broad that'll say that to someone else who is mixed race. I have no idea what she does or says to whom. I can only take her at her word and try to figure out what's going on. It's not an easy task.
The grueling conversations I'm beginning to be unwilling to have continue to force me to tag my body with cultural graffiti.
No. No one is going to pay less attention to you or inquire more about you on the basis of abstract and obscure tattoo designs. That is the most ridiculous thing I've heard today. I'm not going to give any longer a timeline than that because every day something more ridiculous comes about, but that's the most ridiculous thing I've heard today. That you tattoo yourself to answer, or I should say preemptively answer questions about your origins. No. And now I have to suspect that those tattoos are more about getting attention than staving off questions. Thank you, the Caps and Dogs. Last $5 for the stream budget. She must have misheard. I said she was neurotic, not exotic. Oh, burn. Thank you, Caps and Dogs.
Proud declarations of low caste, imperialist inflicted, bracero-like workers imported from so-called slums and forced to work like a dog while the British became millionaires in East Africa and all over the world.
You never lived that life. You never did. If you're a historian trying to chronicle things so they're not forgotten about your personal family heritage, etc., very well, fine. No argument there. But you are willfully choosing to somehow ask for, I don't know, pity or empathy or support for something that you never lived through. Your mother sounds like someone who deserves all the sympathy and empathy in the world for everything she had to go through and the choices she made to make a better life for her children, which by the amount of money I have to assume was spent on all those tattoos, hasn't been too harsh on you in that regard. But you were not a slave. You were not kept in some Indian slum. You were not forced into a marriage you did not want to undertake. Granted, I am assuming so. Such things still happen in America. But anyway, thank you, Drew W. If white privilege is real, why does she embrace the other race? Well, because white privilege is a stain upon your soul. It's an evil. It is, the original sin. So she, I assume, has to be ashamed of her paternal side of the family. She's kind of barely touched on that, but who knows? We still have several minutes left in whatever this is.
Ethnic belonging has only ever belonged to me when I'm surrounded by my family.
Ethnic belonging has only ever belonged to you when you're surrounded by your family. Ethnic belonging. Okay.
That is, unless they start speaking Gujarati.
That is, until they start speaking another language. And you don't know that language?
Because then again, I'm somehow ousted as being incomplete, and no amount of community college class can teach me the complexity of a language forced to be built with Urdu, Gujarati, and Swahili. No Rosetta Stone can sense the hostility between the local and imported community.
Okay, so you feel inadequate not knowing a language that some of your family speak. You notice how nearly all of the problems and difficulties and so on that she's named off so far, excluding those that come from a history book of her family line, are all personal problems, things that she is uncomfortable with, her feelings, her sense of belonging, her sense of self, and so on. Yeah, I'm noticing that too.
Claiming my identity is a compilation of complexities I'm yet to uncover.
Let's do that one again. Just for the hell of it.
Can sense the hostility between the local and imported community.
Uh-huh.
Claiming my identity is a compilation of complexities I'm yet to uncover.
Claiming your identity is a compilation of complexities you've yet to uncover. So you're still figuring yourself out as you go on, which you already articulated and which is already inherent common human experience. You know, aside from your aesthetics, which you seem to put a whole lot of value into for some reason, I have yet to hear anything that actually fundamentally distinguishes you from everyone else.
Constantly seeking validation from my own mother, my own blood.
Uh-huh.
Approval from an intangible anchor of ancestral expectation modeled in disbelief and doubt to preserve the exiled culture.
Wow, it sounds like a really happy family life. If they value culture and aesthetics and all that stuff over just you as an individual. And I'm not saying there aren't families out there that operate like that. You know, there are families out there that operate more on tradition than anything dealing with actual familial love or dealing with the individual in the family versus their place or position in the grand scheme of the structure of the family or the structure of the culture. So maybe she is a victim of a very, very traditional and culturally based family unit where her personal wants and desires are not given any kind of respect. It's possible. Maybe that's where this is coming from. If she's constantly seeking validation from her mother, maybe she's not behaving in the way her mother expects her to, which I'm sure is completely unique to our speaker.
Labeling my minority has never fit a mold.
Labeling your minority. Do you want to be labeled? Are you looking for a category to be put into? Or do you want to be seen as you, as a who, and not as a what? I'm not quite sure what the complaint is here. Thank you, Drew W. Indians still have caste system. It's true. It's true. So again, so legitimate and not being facetious. If her family, her extended family, her mother's side, etc., still practice or the residuals of the caste system still have some effect on relationships in her family, I could understand there being a lot of conflict, especially if you've been raised in a Western society where that doesn't exist. So if that's where this is stemming from in some portion, then okay, I can understand that. But outside of that, still, personal problem.
Maps inked out all over my body.
Oh, God.
I'm pleased to be accepted.
Uh-huh.
Honored. Valued.
Well, why don't you show us all of your tattoos? Or, nah, sorry, that's inappropriate.
Found.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, I wish I found myself earlier. You know, I wish I knew myself earlier.
You still don't know yourself. You just spent the last 10 minutes telling us you don't know yourself. That your discovery of self is a combination of complexities and so on and so forth. You don't know who you are. Unless everything you've told us to this point is just nonsense. And wouldn't that be a stretch?
I wish schools didn't stifle and suppress youth the way that they do.
I thought you were an educator, so aren't you contributing to that system? Oh, sorry.
You know, I used my newfound sense of self and security and became a teacher to allow for spaces for students to develop agency and a voice that I never had growing up.
So you are a teacher of kids. Oh, shucks.
I create classrooms where students are able to be vulnerable, take risks, make mistakes, and feel value.
Unless she gets more detailed, I will take that sentiment as a good one. The content she is imparting onto her students, the lessons that she is imparting onto her students, I can only imagine. But in spirit, the idea of helping students is good. But I need more details before I really give a check mark on that.
We practice bell hooks love in real time.
Oh, God, bell hooks. You're bringing bell hooks into your classroom with students. That's your guiding light, bell hooks. And if you guys don't know who bell hooks is, look her up. You'll see.
Today, the revolution for me looks like reconstructing education.
Oh.
Now that makes people in power scared.
No, that makes rational people scared. Because if you're going to start reconstructing education, you're targeting children.
No, listen, I'm talking like really, really scared.
Uh-huh. Yeah, because people care about the quality of their children's lives and what revolutionary or self-empowered teachers may believe is their right to impart onto or indoctrinate their children into. Yeah, they're scared, rightfully so.
Being a social justice warrior, a rainbow warrior.
Okay.
Means sometimes you got to get into what the famous civil rights activist John Lewis calls good trouble.
You equate yourself with a civil rights activist. Got it.
It also means accepting the fact that you may be scarred from this world.
Oh.
It's the brutal truth.
Yeah.
It's sometimes isolating.
Yeah.
When divisive tactics pull you away from community.
Uh-huh.
But yo, I gotta tell you something.
Oh, I can't wait. Tell me something.
I am more sure of myself now than ever before.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure, and I won't disagree, that you believe entirely that you're in the right. No matter what anyone else has to say, no matter what other criticisms or concerns someone might bring your way, you are totally and absolutely focused on the rightness of your cause. I believe it.
I know that I am the same person when I am creating, when I'm teaching, and when I'm sparking the revolution.
Okay, so you have no filter between roles or... Okay, so when you're an educator, you are acting as a revolutionary. There's no separation of behavior. There's no separation or filter of rhetoric or ideology or anything. So when you're in the classroom, you are a revolutionary towards students. Got it.
There's space for every version of ourselves on the right side of history.
The right side of history. So you are on the right side of history. And anyone, even a smidge to the other direction, is on the wrong side of history. Got it.
Walk with me on the right side of history. I walk knowing they will question intentions.
You're right. They, whoever they are, will, especially when you tell them that there is no filter between your revolutionary ideology and your teaching.
Driven into mass distraction and deception. She walks, knowing they are terrified of her coming up on their heels, the feeling of knowing she has always had to run twice as fast, nevertheless she persisted.
Okay, if everyone else is terrified and you're walking alone, is it possible that you, in your not infinite wisdom, could be wrong? Is it possible that you could be wrong? Do you ever entertain the notion that you could be wrong? That you could be operating under a false pretense? That you could be imparting something onto students that their parents would not appreciate? Is it possible that you have an overblown sense of importance and righteousness? Is it possible?
She walks, knowing her body, her very existence is perceived as a threat, knowing that her indigenous skin has had to justify its claim to be deserving of a home.
I don't know how else to put it. When I saw this lady, and all I saw of this lady before I started doing this broadcast was the thumbnail of the presentation and the very tiny bit of video that I looked at just to verify that the sound wasn't terrible before I boosted it a bit. And again, aside from all the tattoos, which I couldn't read, and the giant glasses, which, like I said, struck in me a kind of nostalgia for something that I didn't actually live through, at least not directly, I didn't make any assumptions about who she was or where she came from. I couldn't guess her ethnicity, her origins, or whatever else. I mean, I'm pretty terrible at guessing people's height, or age a lot of the time. I could look at her and say, well, maybe she's in her mid-20s or early 40s. I don't know. I've seen people range all over the place. So my only assumptions about her looking at it is that she's on a TEDx stage and she has something to say, mostly. And she had a lot of time and conceivably a lot of money to spend on tattoos. Because I have like 5 tattoos, and I know how much they can cost and how much time and pain goes into those things. So outside of that, but I don't know who she is. I don't know what kind of person she is. I don't know her character. But she apparently believes that she knows what everybody else thinks about who she is based on what she looks like. She knows what everyone else is thinking. And everyone else is thinking that she's a threat because she exists. The fact that she exists doesn't bother me at all. The idea that she is imparting a kind of cultural paranoia and shame onto students because there is no filter or barrier between her educator self and her revolutionary self, that concerns me. But she, simply standing there, doesn't.
Colonized, displaced, but still rooted in ancestral soil.
No, you were... Okay, I don't know this lady's personal history. Maybe her mother moved away from Los Angeles and had her somewhere else. I don't know. But any rooting of soil that isn't American is a choice you are making. And in fact, you are... I mean, I hesitate to put it this bluntly, but you are appropriating the pain of people you had nothing to do with. You are appropriating the pain and victimization of other people, even if they were your ancestors. That's beside the point. You are trying to assume a victimhood based on things that happened to other people. And you're exploiting your family history to gain sympathy and or, I don't know, rhetorical leverage. So, I don't know, you might complain about cultural appropriation of Ganesh, but an image is an image. A victimhood, a torture, that's something completely different, and nothing that you have any claim to, appropriative or otherwise.
She spoke, knowing a place would never be handed to her, never given a seat at the table, so she would have to make it. Take it if she had to, but she wouldn't be silenced anymore.
Who was stopping you from making this TEDx talk? you're the keynote speaker at this event, whatever this event is. So who's barring you from expressing yourself?
She spoke, knowing others would have to stop speaking truths, claiming stories instead of speaking truths, because since a youth, those in power have chosen to fabricate narratives, and she's tired of seeing her community be erased before her eyes.
Are you talking about you in the royal you sense? Who's she? Is she you, or is she your hair? Or, I don't know.
She spoke, knowing so many have been silenced.
Uh-huh.
She's unapologetic, knowing the hair on her knuckles is ancestral gifted wisdom, not another reason to conform, not sorry for clapbacks because entitlements have allowed fingers to run through foreign hair without permission.
Wow. Hair on your knuckles is ancestral wisdom. And then people touch my hair without being given permission. The hair on my knuckles is ancestral wisdom. That's deep. And yeah, I'm sure many people just walk up to you unbidden and touch your hair because that's what people do. It's really true.
Unapologetic. Disappointed but not surprised, knowing in 2019, over 50 unarmed people were murdered by the police.
50 unarmed people. Okay, does unarmed mean not a threat? I mean, and I know that might be sort of bad timing to ask that question. Case-by-case basis, unfortunately. It always has to be a case-by-case basis. You talk about statistics when it comes to police shootings. I've seen videos. There's this one, and I don't remember when it's from. I think it's from the 90s or something. But a cop pulls a guy over on the side of the road. The guy gets out of the car, and the guy is huge. I mean, he's like a giant, right? And the cop tries to arrest this guy because he's driving under the influence. And the guy just basically turns around, and just the size of this guy, the cop can't compete. And the guy beats the ever-loving hell out of the officer with his bare hands. He eventually got up and got away, and I forget if the officer lived through that or not, honestly, off the top of my head. But being unarmed and shot by the police does not mean you are not a threat. It is a case-by-case, circumstance-by-circumstance situation. Throwing that statistic out there and leaving it to the audience to assume that that all means that 50 innocent people were killed, 50 people who are not attacking officers or who are not a threat to somebody else. If I've got my arm around somebody in a headlock and I'm choking them out, and I'm going to either maim or kill this person and a police officer shoots me, I was unarmed. I get really twitchy about statistics being thrown out without clarification. You know, God of the gaps theory of statistical analysis. I really get twitchy about that, as many of you know from listening to these things.
That over 300 trans people were murdered in the streets. That white supremacy is on the rise from shadows behind familiar faces. She is unapologetic because she is tired of having to apologize.
How many straight and or cis people were murdered in the streets? Does every murder where you use the statistic of their orientation thus mean they were murdered because of their orientation, because of their gender status? Again, throwing out a statistic and just assuming the rest of us are going to take in the obvious cause of it without asking any questions. Is that how you teach your students? To make conclusions based on emotion, make conclusions on the basis of the absence of information, and instead the implication of what you're saying? That's why people might be worried about you. Most specifically, that you're shaping younger minds to think this way.
They are tired of having to apologize. They are unapologetic, knowing pronouns are trivial until abusive.
Pronouns are trivial until abusive. Man, this speaker is a question a second. She really is.
That a woman is not defined by genitalia.
I can't.
Apologetic, knowing that binaries are for the past, and in order to preserve the future, dignity and humanity should not be treated as a privileged present.
I don't even know what we're talking about now, honestly.
Compassion is not a gift, nor can it be plagiarized.
Compassion is not a gift, nor can it be plagiarized. I mean, if she means that compassion should be universal without question, I mean, sort of in the better angels of our nature sense, I suppose, but plagiarized? I mean, if she means that compassion should not be false compassion, or cynical compassion, or a sarcastic compassion, I'm like, okay, plagiarized? I mean, copying someone else? I guess that's also kind of a false compassion. I'm spending a lot of time trying to decipher what she's saying, aren't I?
You see, she knew even if she had to do it alone, she would.
Who is she? Are you still talking about you? Did I miss some example that you're referencing? Is this Bell Hooks? Oh, who is she in this scenario? Please.
She would sing when others would say silence.
If you're talking about yourself, the fact that you are separating yourself and talking about yourself in the third person, I don't know. I'm not a psychologist, but that might say something more profound about how you see yourself. Are you separating yourself from yourself? Or are you talking about your hair?
Music of resiliency would find sanity and speak when she had no voice.
Uh-huh.
Calling her to decide between justice and love, between any means necessary and complacency, but what the ignorant always fail to recognize.
Yeah, okay.
Is that the most romantic are always the most revolutionary. Thank you so much.
I have absolutely zero idea what I just watched. I'm honestly trying to think of something, a conclusion, an argument, a point that I can walk away from this with, even if it is just the most amorphous thing I could pull out of all of that. And the only thing that I can think of, the only notion that occurs to me is this person is teaching children. That's it. This person is teaching children and has told us flat out that there is no filter, there is no separation between her personal ideology and her teaching style. That she does not filter out from her curriculum her personal beliefs and personal agendas. Now, I've never had to hire a teacher. I've never been a principal of a school or superintendent of a school district or anything like that. But if someone made a public declaration and was looking for a job in my school or in my school district as an educator of children, that they do not leave their personal beliefs at the door, that they do not focus so much on educating children as indoctrinating children, I don't know that I would hire that person to be a teacher of children. You know, and that's not to say that, you know, all your personal virtues or whatever else are completely set aside. But if you're just educating children on reading, writing, arithmetic, etc., but you cannot help but also inject your own revolutionary ideology into your lesson plan, I don't know that that's someone I would want teaching children. Now, this was done at a Catholic school, so maybe she's Catholic. And obviously, if you have a Catholic school or a school that is based around a particular religion or ideology, obviously, that's unavoidable. That's what people put their kids into by their own choice to do. And more power to them. But elsewise, thank you, John Miller. This is the Seinfeld of talks. It was something. Thank you, tall person. Want some macaroons to go with that word salad? I tell you, like I said at the start of this is a mystery box, and I didn't know what I was getting into, but I still don't know what I got into. I listened to 14 minutes and 40 some odd seconds of words without weight, words without content. And like I say, the only thing I'm taking away from this talk is that this person is some kind of celebrated educator. She has a job teaching children. She had a lot of disposable time and, I presume, unless somebody was doing it for as a friend or something, disposable income to put into tattoos. And she's really, really sensitive about her place in her family, and she feels really awkward around people as a general rule, even though she has confidence, which she totally has, and not a giant chip on her shoulder for anybody that might ask her a question about her origins, even though expressing the truth of her origins is the primary mover in her life, I guess. Thank you. This is Kyle. This lady has given me a Sinatra. Oh, is that what we're calling strokes now? That's actually kind of funny. Gave me a Sinatra. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to give the next couple of minutes to you guys. I know I've gone over time than I usually do. I try to keep these to around an hour. We're still technically around an hour, but if you have any insight, observations, contradictions, anything to correct me on, by all means, put it in the chat now. Decode says she's not Catholic. She was complaining about white people stealing her Hindu god. I don't know. How people define their religious beliefs and so on can run the gamut. So I couldn't say. I don't even know if she's actually a teacher at the school this took place at. I don't know anything about the speaker. You know, for the most part, unless it's somebody that I recognize for some reason, I don't go into these things having much foreknowledge of who it is. I take them as they present themselves. If she had never mentioned that she was an educator, I wouldn't have anything to say about her teaching students. But she brought that up, so that becomes part of the analysis and critique. So there you go. Straight Cis Male says, she creeper my out. Okay. That's one way to put it. Nothing for you here. Based on how tense her shoulders were the whole time, that confidence she claims is a lie. I mean, I'm not going to read too much into her body language. I can't even imagine trying to do public speaking in a small setting, let alone on a TEDx stage. So any body language or nervousness she might have had, etc., on the stage, I don't even read into too much, because I'd be nervous too. And if I'm all energized and really excited about what I'm doing, yeah, I only pay attention to what she's saying and at least in my opinion, the weight and or veracity and or sense that she's making in what she's saying. So I give it. And like I say, if she had never mentioned her hair, it never would occur to me to say anything about it. If she never mentioned her tattoos, be like, okay, unless I was, again, sort of looking at the tattoos and saying, if she said something effective like, oh, I live in poverty or something, I'd be really curious to know how she afforded all those tattoos, because they don't look like, somebody did it for you in their kitchen with a ballpoint pen and a needle or something, so. Graph Spree, Scribelight, if there are teachers like her in schools, no wonder why we have cities burning and so many NPCs. Yeah, no, I've been talking about, check out the playlist on my YouTube channel, Curriculum of Fear, if you haven't already. I have a long list of videos looking at real teachers, real educators professing their methods, their beliefs, etc., in public schools, in private settings, and so on. And yeah, this is not isolated. This kind of thinking is not isolated to one spot or one part of the world or one part of the country or one culture. It's really endemic to a lot of school systems now. And the more time that goes on where this kind of stuff isn't challenged or questioned or promoted, or is promoted, I should say, the more it's going to become common. And it's a scary notion. Straight to the mail, lulls, typo, you got the point, Scribe. Yes, I did. I got it. I kid. I don't, as much as I might kid people on Twitter for typos and things like Weibo, it's all in jest. I don't hold that much to account to people usually. Let's see, John Miller, this had nothing to do with colonization, more of a whine fest on how her life is hard. I guess because she doesn't get along with her family, or she doesn't feel like she belongs places because she assumes to know the thoughts of everyone around her or what society thinks of her. I guess. I mean, projection is a real full-time pastime. Let's see. Renovation, Scribelight, regarding trans murders, per their own figures, 286 trans people were murdered worldwide. By comparison, 450,000 cis people were killed, 1 in 71,666 trans, 1 in 21,000 cis. She's a liar. Well, I mean, did she say did she say 300 people in America or 300 people in 2019? Because if she said just 300 people in 2019, maybe she's not wrong about the total. But again, you're first assuming that they were killed because they were trans, which you can't say without going over every individual case and seeing what was the motive of the murder or what were the circumstances and so on. But also, if you're just going to say 300 trans people were killed in 2019 and leave us to assume they were killed because of their gender identity, well, does that mean that every cis person was killed because of their gender identity? The logic doesn't track. That doesn't somehow diminish the loss of life or something. I'm just saying is that if you're going to use that as an argument for some kind of motivation, you have to look at the motivation of the person who did the crime. That's what we have trials for, and detectives and the whole 9 yards. You can't assume a motivation just because of one aspect of someone's makeup. That doesn't track. Thank you, Blake Becker. Can you do a TEDx talk on Adam Driver? Did Adam Driver do a TEDx talk? Did Kylo Ren do a TEDx talk? I mean, lots of celebrities have, but I mean, I'll look. Devil Fruit Zero, Scribelight, teachers like this made me actually contemplate suicide when I was in high school. I mean, being guilted for a school year while depressed is a bitch. Now I don't give a fuck. Well, I'm sorry that happened to you. I'm glad you didn't remove yourself from the equation of all of our lives. Thank you so much. But yeah, I can't even imagine what she's teaching children based on her ideology. If I take her at her word, there's no separation between her ideology and her teaching style. So is she teaching kids of a certain race who aren't mixed race that they are either privileged or inherently disadvantaged because they are what they are? Is that something I have to ask? Well, yeah, it is, because she just told us that's something I have to ask. Assassin the Great, Scribelight, anyone who cites the right side of history is a mass murderer and a war criminal just waiting to happen. She has never been loved because her hang-ups, and she wants to make the world pay. I don't know if inherently mass murder and war criminal just waiting to happen, but when you say you're on the right side of history, you're talking with a level of certitude about the trueness and pureness of your thoughts and motivations that goes beyond anything that I could not be suspicious of. To be that certain of your own motivations, your own actions, your own goals, and so on, without any question that you might be wrong, that you might be overdoing it, that there might be another possibility to your reality than the one you've created for yourself. That does worry me about someone if they operate on a level of absolute and total self-righteousness and certitude. You know, you always, as far as I'm concerned, I should preface, the healthiest way to live moving through life is to always assume there's something you don't know. Which isn't a very difficult thing to do, because there's lots of things we don't know, but not assuming that you are the center of the universe, that everything you do is absolutely correct and right all the time. And that's not to say live entirely in self-doubt. That's not healthy either. And God knows I have most of my life, not giving myself much credit for certain things and so on. But, you know, finding that balance, but always remembering you're not perfect. There's always a better idea. There can be an alternate perspective. Keeping that in the back of your mind will keep you honest, more so than it seemingly our speaker, who goes through life thinking that she is righteous, even though she is completely uncomfortable with herself. But all that being said, guys, thank you so much for joining me for this interesting, very vocabulary heavy odyssey of self-discovery and hair. I have another TEDx queued up and ready to go. It's a long one. It's like 20 minutes long, so I might save that for the weekend. In fact, I will save that for the weekend. But everyone, thank you so much for your attendance. Thank you so much for your participation. Those of you who donated, thank you so much for your generosity. It'll all go towards horrible things I'll put in my body, like goldfish for Dog, Cat, Fox, and Pepper Jacks for me. If you'd like to hear more from me, by any chance, you can find me tonight on Ranting Monkey's channel at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern for Lords of the Night, where Ranting Monkey, myself, and Satsu 2 Cents will look over the news, the events of the day that you guys send us through hashtag MSS News, and anything else that comes to mind as we proceed through this crazy, crazy time of our lives. But everyone, take care. Hope you are safe and well. If you're not well, get well soon. And I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.